Hi kids, welcome to Kids TV News. I'm Khalil Stewart, and we're doing our show outside today. That's because we're taking all necessary precautions because of the COVID-19 pandemic that has changed life for all of us most this year. On today's show, we'll meet 3 graduating high school seniors from here in Harford County who got a first-hand look at how state government works in Annapolis at this year's legislative pages. We'll get some expert advice on how to identify all these birds we've been seeing now that we're spending so much more time outdoors. We'll drop in on a martial arts class in Abingdon and learn about the emotional benefits as well as the physical benefits of this practice. But first, so many of us are spending more time outdoors, reacquainting ourselves with nature and the animals and the plants that share our world. There's so much to learn out here. And to help get the most of our time outdoors, we convinced one of the park naturalists at the Anita C. Light Estuary Center to walk or hike us through the experience.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm the park naturalist at the Anita C. Light Estuary Center in Abingdon, Maryland. And today I wanted to talk to you all about hiking and some fun things that you can do while you're hiking and the things you should bring with you. So when you are getting ready to go for a hike, there are a few things that you definitely want to make sure that you have with you. Some things that are going to keep you safe and keep you comfortable, and other things to help you explore. So for one thing, you definitely need to bring with you water, especially on a summer day like this where it's hot outside. You've got to stay hydrated. Also, bringing bug spray with you and sunscreen so that you're protecting yourself from the sun and the bugs. And then along with that, you probably want to bring with you some things to explore. So a nature journal is a really fun thing to bring if you want to stop and record some of the stuff you found. Something else if you have a cell phone, taking pictures, or a camera, you can take pictures of some interesting things you found along the trail. And then another thing you could bring with you are binoculars, because if you're looking up, you might be able to see a bird nest or birds flying over. Or if you are lucky like here at the center, you might be near the water and you could see some birds along the water as well. So while you're hiking, there are definitely some things you want to be looking for. The first thing is really important, and that would be your trail markers. So you don't want to get lost while you're out there on the trails. And trail markers are painted strips on trees that tell you that you're on the correct trail, and they're usually a specific color. So here at the Estuary Center, our main trail is the Discovery Trail, and it has yellow trail markers. So making sure you keep an eye on those while you're going around is going to keep you safe and headed in the right direction. So some of the interesting things you want to keep an eye out for on the trail would be the wildlife and the plant life. So wildlife here in Maryland, we see a lot of different types of birds. We've got squirrels. And if you're here at the Estuary Center, you might even get lucky to see something like a beaver on the shoreline. There's also really cool plants that are here on the trails. There's something called Indian cucumber that you might stumble across, different types of wildflowers depending on what time of year you're out here. So keeping your eyes out for the wildlife and the plants is a really great thing. And making sure you're not just looking on the ground and in the trees, but also in the skies, because you might see some birds flying over as well. So you want to be out there looking for animals and wildlife, but there's a lot of surprises you can find too. And one thing is to just get curious while you're walking through the woods. So while you're looking around, there's going to be rocks and logs that you can roll over or pick up to see what's hiding underneath. Sometimes you'll find different types of worms or bugs, and you might even find a salamander, especially after it's rained. They usually come out. And you might look around and find things that are attached to trees or holes in trees that you can look through. You just never know what you could stumble upon if you stay curious while you're walking on the trails. So as you're hiking, there's lots of things that you can learn by observing the wildlife around you. So watching the things that are going on. You might think, okay, the trail, there's not much happening in the woods, but if you just sit still for a minute and watch, you're gonna see that the birds are flying around. They might be looking for things. They might be looking for worms. They might be looking for things to build nests. So making sure that you're keeping your eye on the wildlife, you're gonna learn from them. So seasonally, things are changing throughout the trail. The leaves are changing, but the animals are changing as well. So making sure you go out at different times of the year, you can learn what the animals are doing during different times of the year. In the springtime, they could be making nests. In the summer, they might be hunting differently. So going out and trying to go out during different times is a great thing to do. As animals are going through the forest, they're going to be leaving signs behind them, because when they see you, they're gonna scatter the other way. They get scared. So we have to be quiet if we want to catch a sight of them, but you can catch their signs. So for example, squirrels are really messy eaters. And if you come to our trails, you'll notice we have benches. A lot of times the squirrels leave their mess on the benches, like acorns and little chewed up pieces of leaves and things. So keeping an eye out for that. And also if you're near the shoreline, like here at the Estuary Center, we have beavers that visit. So they chew on trees and you can usually find those hanging around by the shoreline. And if you're lucky, you might find some footprints or some tracks, is what we usually call them. And you can find tracks of things like deer or raccoon or even otters if you're really lucky. So looking around for not just the animals but their signs, you can learn from them as well. So here at the Estuary Center, we have a lot of trails for you to go and hike and explore and get reacquainted with nature. There's a lot of things you can learn while you're out there in the woods, so please stop by and visit us.
Welcome back to Kids TV News. Since we're spending more time outdoors, it makes sense to get to know more about the plants and animals around us. I've been curious about the birds I see in my backyard, or the hiking trails I use. So I decided to get more information from Nick Spigler from the Harford Youth Bird Club.
Many of us have been rediscovering the outdoors recently. Nature has many exciting things in store for us, the animals, the trees, the plants. My name is Nick Spigler, and one of my favorite outdoor activities is bird watching, otherwise known as birding. If any of you want to get into birding, here are some tips for you to start. Before you go birding, make sure you have a plan. Make sure you know where you're going, who you're going to be with, and how long you're going to be out. Another thing you want to keep in mind is to be calm and quiet. The birds don't really like loud noises, so being quiet will make sure that you'll see as many as possible. A third thing to keep in mind is to pay attention. You'll be able to see more birds that are camouflaged and hidden in the trees. You might also be able to hear some of them. The final thing is have fun. You're out there for enjoyment, so enjoy yourself. Some of the things I bring along when I go birding are my binoculars. They help me see some of the birds that are too far away to identify with my eyes. Another thing I bring along is my camera. This helps me record the birds that I see that are far away and sometimes help me identify them. To be able to identify some of the birds, I use a field guide. This helps me determine where I'm finding the birds and where they're supposed to be. I also bring along a notepad to record which birds I see, how many I see, and where I saw them. You can use the bird list you collected to submit to an online database called eBird. Scientists all around the world can use that data to track and identify bird populations to help endangered species. Finally, remember to stay hydrated on bird walks. I always bring a water bottle. Some of the things I look for when birding in the woods are quick flashes of movement or color. If I see something moving quickly in a tree, I can look at it because it's probably a bird. Another thing that you should pay attention to is the sound. If you hear a strange sound in the woods, it's probably a different type of bird. You can identify some of the birds by sound by practicing and listening to their songs. Harford County is a great place to go birding. We have diverse habitat and plenty of state and county parks to go to. Susquehanna State Park is one of them. There are many birds there, plenty of habitat, and wide open spaces for you to walk. Also, this is one of my favorite places, Harford Glen. This is a great place to go birding. There's plenty of birds, wetlands, streams, and all sorts of wildlife. Another place to go birding would be Eden Mill. It's very much like Harford Glen, more woods, and there's also bird banding stations both at here and Harford Glen. Besides going to the major state parks that might be far from your house, you can also bird in your own neighborhood. Anywhere with trees, a stream, bird seed, bird feeders, you can bird anywhere. If you're interested in birding, the Harford Bird Club is a great place to start. They even have a youth bird club. Happy birding!
While we were looking for other outdoor experiences, we happened to catch a martial arts class that was being held outdoors and discovered the students were getting a lot more than just a physical exercise.
Martial arts is for everyone. My name is Sensei Sydney Brackens, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about Ninja Abingdon Martial Arts, located in Abingdon, Maryland, and how our school is improving lives across the county. Martial arts are more than a physical activity. In martial arts, we also work on mental training as well. Things such as stress management, how to be confident in yourself and your actions, goal setting, how to see something and know how to achieve it, how to be motivated in everything that you do. Also, how to stand up for yourself. If you're ever getting bullied, how to handle that as a kid or even as an adult.
What I like about classes, best part about classes is that it helps me build confidence and helps me and practice with my friends with all the techniques that we do.
Martial arts is also great for instilling self-discipline. So understanding what needs to be done and then knowing how to get it done. As kids, we often struggle with the respect factor in discipline. As adults, sometimes we just really don't want to do something. So martial arts is a great way for us to know how to always accomplish our next goal and what our goals should be in the first place. What we're working on today are some drills which will help our kids improve their hand-eye coordination, their reaction time, and the power within their strikes, specifically their kicks. We'll also be talking about building confidence in each other. It's very important that when we're struggling the most, that's when we need to be a team and we need to encourage each other.
The biggest change I've seen in myself, I haven't been as scared if someone was being mean to me, because I learned how to defend myself.
The amazing part about the lessons learned within our studio, Ninja Abingdon, is that the lessons transcend into kids and adults' everyday lives outside of the studio. Kids at home respect their parents more, and adults at work understand how to manage their stress and their anger better.
What I can take from here and put it into my life is focus. So I have better focus in class to my parents and whoever talking to me.
What I learned here to take it to school is that what all my senseis say to me, I remember it. So like if someone wants to like put up a fight, I'd be like, sorry, no, like that's kind of not what you're supposed to do. It's like self-respect. Like you should talk it out with somebody, like with them, or talk to a teacher about what's going on.
Martial arts back in the good old days, like the 80s and 90s, were pretty hardcore. Martial arts today still have the discipline involved. However, classes are meant to be fun as well. So as a class, we're always encouraging one another. We're doing drills and activities that are a blast while we're getting the skills that we're trying to teach.
The most fun I have in class is playing games with everyone and getting to grapple with everyone.
The most fun about classes is that we get to grapple and spar, and we get to like engage with other people while we're still doing martial arts.
Being a martial artist means we tend to make healthier life choices. Making a healthy life choice can range anywhere from knowing how to maintain a better sleep schedule, eating better foods to physically maintain a proper, strong body, as well as understanding time management. Etiquette or manners in martial arts is a critical skill. Same thing with everyday life. So at the end of every class, we end with a bow to show our respect, not just to our teachers or our senseis, but to each other as an entire class.
The bowing means to me that we're all coming to peace and no harm, and that we're all bowing to the showman and everyone, and telling them that there's no need to worry, that we're not going to hurt them.
The bowing about to me is that we show respect to our senseis and to the showman that's in our dojo and to all our classmates that's with us, so they know that we come in peace with them and we're not going to do any harm to them.
Create your memories in beautiful Harford County, Maryland. Bring the family for a hike at Rock State Park. Have a picnic and hear live music at the world-famous Ladue Topiary Gardens. Or take a run on the Ma and Pa Trail. Hi, I'm County Executive Barry Glassman, inviting you to visit Harford.
Earlier this year, high school seniors from all across the state headed to Annapolis to take part in this year's Legislative Page program during the annual session of the Maryland General Assembly. 6 seniors from Harford County were among them. We spoke to 3 of them about what they learned, how the experience changed their ideas of government and the legislative process.
Hello, I'm Ashley Jones. I'm a senior at Edgewood High School, and I was selected to be a legislative page for the 2020 session. As a page, I think that I've gotten to see this unique perspective or unique world of the legislative process that nobody else gets to see, going from the steps from the beginning of a bill just being introduced to the finalized voting process. What surprised me was the private discussions that are had outside of office. So talking about bills just in conversation regularly throughout the buildings and just all those little nitty-gritty aspects that nobody else gets to see. The experience has changed my perception of Maryland government and its significance towards me. I've usually looked upon government as a national scale rather than a state level. So it was very impactful to see how important it is to the constituents and the citizens of Maryland. Being an immigrant myself, I've always looked upon immigration as an important topic that I want to pursue in the future. And while I was paging, I actually got to see some policy that affected Dreamers. The PAGE program is important to students because it allows students to see what they learned being applied to the real world. We often learn about Maryland politics in our government classes, but we never actually get to see how it plays out. I do believe that my PAGE experience will affect my future just because originally I was going to only focus on constitutional law of international countries, but now I want to look more at the policy side that is going into that governmental process.
So my name's Alex Rowlett, senior at Edgewood High School, and I was honored to be selected as a page. So what makes the page really distinct is the gray blazer, and right here you have the Maryland seal, and then you have your name tag right here, so you really can't miss it. It's pretty hard. So when I first saw the floor of the legislative of the House of Delegates, I was just in awe because you look around, just these grand marble walls, all in blue, and it's a really honor to be down on that floor because most people, if you're just a normal citizen, have to sit up in the gallery. So it was really just an honor to see it all in its glory. One of my many honors while being a page was meeting with Speaker Jones, who was the first African American and woman Speaker of the House. What I learned from this whole process was just how complicated things are. So for example, for a bill, there's not just one reading. People vote on it and it gets into place. There's actually 3 readings. It can go to the committees, and there's so many different options it can go down to. And it was actually really cool speaking with different legislators about that whole process and kind of my interest in their interest. This whole experience changed my overall perspective of how we make laws because I have a newfound appreciation for it because now I realize how hard our legislators work. So my biggest advice to people looking to become a page is to talk to their teachers and kind of get to know more of the legislative process and talk to people that have actually done the PAGE program, and if it sounds like something you should do, definitely go for it and don't hold back because it's definitely a great experience.
My name is Ryan Blosser. I'm a senior at North Harford High School, and I was selected to be one of the Harford County pages in the Maryland General Assembly for the 2021 legislative session. The legislative page program is an outreach program to youth that are seniors in high school to get them involved in the legislative process. So from all the counties in the state of Maryland, they select students to come down and see the legislative process in action. Whether that be serving on the House floor or the Senate floor, we get to work with our elected officials to help make the legislative process run smoother. So I served on the Senate side, so I can speak specifically to the Senate side. We're kind of like their gopher on the floor. So the senators have binders in their desks, and in these binders are all the different bills that they'll be working with that day. So it was our job to go in before session and put the bills in the binders and make sure everything was there for them, and then afterwards we remove the bills that they don't need anymore. So we're there to make sure that the process can run smooth and to make sure that the senators have whatever they need when they're working. I never knew that the process was so bipartisan. Whether that be sitting in a committee room or sitting on the floor, so many of these votes were middle-of-the-line issues that affected real Marylanders every day. And I'll never forget my first committee hearing that I sat in. All the bills that passed that committee hearing were full unanimous votes, whether it be Republican or Democrat. And it was so inspiring to see that all these different legislators, whether they came from Western Maryland or the Eastern Shore, were all supporting these issues or were all working together to make a bill better. There were a couple instances where bills weren't unanimous, but even on that, it wasn't a partisan vote. You'd have Democrats and Republicans supporting a bill, and then at the same time, Democrats and Republicans not supporting a bill. So the politics that we see in DC is nothing like what the actual legislative process is like in Annapolis. The biggest thing was seeing that these bills, although you may not understand the legal writings of them, these politicians study them. And they make sure that they know these bills, and they make sure that these bills are so carefully thought out that there's not going to be loopholes in 2 years or in a year that we're going to have to fix. And they put so much focus on making sure they get it right the first time. And to me, that was just incredible to see. I always dreamed of going into politics, but now it's heart set on my life. Whether it be an elected office or serving in the background, the work that they do is so important. And I got to see the behind the scenes too. I got to see the Department of Legislative Services in their bill drafting room. And I got to go to the amendment drafting room and pick up some of those amendments and deliver it to senators or delegates. And it was just so incredible to see how many people work behind the scenes and don't get noticed on the day-to-day operations, and how there are so many people that put their hearts into their jobs that we as citizens don't know about. In my opinion, the PAGE program is essential, not only because it fills one of the roles that the legislature needs, whether that be getting the binders ready with the bills before session, getting the materials for the senators so that they don't have to leave the chambers, but it gives youth a good way to see government. Sit in a committee hearing and hear people from the state of Maryland come out and talk about those issues, or see the senators take a vote in committee. See the legislative process in action, meet the people that are going to be affecting our lives for the future.
Thanks for sticking around. We would love to hear from you. You can log into our website at KidsTVNews.com. Let us know what you think and what you would like to see here on Kids TV News. Until next time, I'm Khalil Stewart. Peace.